Hello, welcome back to my channel, Not the Hiring Manager. My name's Eric Crump, and this is the fifth video that I'm making covering the Cyber Talent Management System from the Department of Homeland Security. This is the system that I use to start working for DHS and the Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency, so DHS CISA. I really enjoyed this method of hire. It gives a lot of detail and a really good framework for assessing your talent and where you are in your career and the level that you should come in on. First thing I'm going to cover is the splash page for it. Actually, scratch that. First thing I'm going to cover is why we even have the cyber talent management system. Why don't we just have, the GS positions like everybody else? And it's because DHS recognized that to be competitive with the civilian organizations that are hiring very talented people in the cybersecurity area, that they kind of have to start matching the compensation packages that go with it. In not government services, cybersecurity professionals can make a very decent living and have a pretty well-sized compensation package. And that tends to not line up with the government general schedule pay plans, i.e., I was making more than a GS 15 as a government contractor. And so they realize that they have to come align a little more closely with the civilian organizations, or they're just not going to hire the top talent that they're looking for. So they came up with the cyber talent management system, and this addresses not all of the concerns, but it helps address the concerns for top quality cyber talent that they need to secure the critical infrastructure in our world. Well, in our country. I like the mission of CISA and DHS as a whole. I enjoy the fact that we are securing critical infrastructure, so stuff that is not necessarily military, but it's how life runs for people, right? So I believe that my mission directly impacts the citizens of the United States through securing their power generation, water supply, sewage disposal, anything that is run off of IT infrastructure. That is the domain of CISA, and that called to me a lot. Enough to come out of the Department of Defense, where I've spent the last 20 something years of my life. So it's a good place to work, and I've enjoyed it so far. I've been here about a year. So back on the cyber talent management system, though, there's my pitch for coming joining DHS system. The cyber talent management system has its own webpage. A lot of the organizations do. I'm going to make a follow-on video in a couple of days for the Air Force Civilian Services, AFCS, which also is like the Air Force's direct hire authority. But that isn't this video. So the Cyber Talent Management System have our own webpage. I will leave it in the link in the description below. It is dhscs.usajobs.gov, just in case you can follow me that quickly. And it'll bring you the splash page, which covers the mission of the cybersecurity service from Department of Homeland Security. I highly encourage going over the whole website. I'm not going to cover everything. I'm just going to scroll quickly through. Know that there's plenty of things to click on as you go exploring the website. I highly encourage you to explore the website and look at everything. It plays into being a pretty good cyber professional in general. A lot of the times my pen testing friends tend to have a term called RTFM, or read the effing manual. And this is the manual for coming in the CTMS program. The links work, they describe everything that you need to do. So I highly encourage reading and looking into this website. So that's the mission page. I will go to the next link for the work page. And this describes and helps you understand the whole framework that they've created to cover down on cybersecurity services. It does a good job of defining the different roles. It covers down where they work at, so you can be in multiple different agencies. I work for the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA, but you can also work for the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, and I won't cover all of them. There's a lot of different sub-directorates underneath all of that stuff and different departments that do a lot of different things. So we actually have a wide range of places to work. But one of the great parts about CTMS and DHS in general is they really work towards a good work-life balance, and they are pretty supportive of telework and remote work. The follow on down into the rest of this part of the website, it goes over the different areas and they call it technical capabilities. And it is a bunch of them. So you can do multiple different things. And what I like is you can move around between them if you have the experience and the training and the knowledge. I won't click on all of these, but these will take you through. Click on one of them. Research and development. What do we want to do? Engineering. We'll go engineering. That's what I am as a cybersecurity engineer. And then the card covers down like generally what they do, but you can watch a video, you can click on the resources tab, and it'll take you to the far end, which we'll go back to in a minute, of resources you can use to dig further into the jobs. So the work, it shows you where you can work and what the different types of work are and the framework that they've built. Benefits. This is the big draw to coming in through CTMS. And I will say that the benefits, there are pluses and minuses to it. I like to cover the minuses and then go over the pluses. One of the big minuses is that when you come in under the cyber talent management system, you have a way longer probationary period than other the general schedule people. And what that means is you have a period of time when you first start working for the federal government that they don't need a very strong reason to fire you. You can basically be fired for failure to adapt or not fitting the organization. Once you make it past that probationary period, it becomes nigh impossible to they can fire you, don't get me wrong, but it becomes very much harder for the government to fire you once you made it past your probationary period. CTMS, Cyber Talent Management System, is a 3-year probationary period. And so that means that for 3 years, they could let you go for, minor things. A lot of people don't like that. They don't want to have that level of uncertainty in their position. I will tell you, I've been on for a year and nobody's talked about firing me at all. I mean, I believe that the way they have set up CTMS is that you're technically competent and capable, and you generally won't have any problem if you come underneath this hiring system of staying on in your positions. So that's a downside to CTMS. The plus side is your pay compensation can be a little higher than some of the other people who are coming in at the mid-level, so on and so forth. We will cover the pay in a second, but I would like to highlight I will tell you that my compensation package as a contractor was above what I'm making with the government. What I'll tell you is, outside of my very specific certain circumstances, I'm a disabled vet and I retired from the military. So my health care is already taken care of, as well as my family's health care. Outside of that, the government's health care is bar none pretty much the best out there for regular people, working people. The co-pays are a lot less. The monthly payment is a lot less. The deductible is a lot less, and you get a lot more out of it. So I know a lot of people who really just came over the government side because after they were spending all the money on their health issues that they had to deal with, they were actually bringing home less than they do now as a government employee who makes a little bit less on the top end, but doesn't have to pay for all the medical stuff like they did before. That doesn't mean you don't pay for medical stuff. It just means that it's a much better medical package that comes with the government. The next thing that's actually pretty nice, in my opinion, is the paid time off. You come on accruing 4 hours of time off per pay period. But, depending on your level and everything else, the government can actually offer you more to come on. But I won't get into offers what that would happen too much. But the paid time off goes from 4 hours of pay period to 6 hours of pay period after like 3 or 4 years to then 8 hours of pay period, which is a full day off every 2 weeks. You earn a full day off. Plus you earn sick leave at the same rate, and then you already have all the federal holidays off as a paid holiday, and they have pretty good paid parental leave. And this, having been a contractor, this is actually more time off than I got as a contractor, because even when the contractors quote unquote gave me the time off and the PTO, um, in that environment you don't get to use it as much, where the government is like, oh, take your time off and please go take your time off and use it as you need and as you can. Um, the other part is they have really good work-life balance. I can tell you DHS and CISA specific work very hard to ensure that your work can be very productive while you still balance doing what you want to do with your life. And so they understand it. I work under Director Easterly right now. Um, and I will have to say that they focus very hard on getting the mission and job accomplished and having a good family life. And so they do multiple different ways. You can have a maxi flex schedule where your hours don't have to be, 8-hour day, Monday through Friday, et cetera, et cetera. Telework, which is you work from home for the most part, but you have to go in 1 day a week or 2 days per pay period, which is 2 weeks. They have fitness centers, transportation subsidies. They also have another thing that I have used before. They've got health time, and so they'll give you 3 hours a week to do workouts or bike or some kind of exercise to keep your health up, because a lot of the times us IT personnel, we sit in a chair all day long, we look at a screen for 8 hours, and so we don't get as much movement, and our health can be a concern, and we want to ensure that that is balanced out as well. And so I have to say, bar none, DHS CISA work-life balance has been the best work-life balance I've had. Is it the most pay I've made? No, but it's definitely not the least pay either. And so it's really hit the nice sweet spot for myself and my family of the right amount of pay with the right amount of time off and the right amount of flexibility in how I conduct my work hours. The other thing that a lot of people love is it's one of the few places left with a classic retirement. So it's called the FERS, or Federal Employees Retirement System. You do pay some money into it every pay period, but at the end, once you're vested and you've worked for, however many years for the federal government, you will get a pension depending on the amount that you were paid, et cetera, et cetera. I won't get into the details of it, but one of the few places left that's a pension. It's like my military retirement, right? It will keep on going until the day I die. And so you have the FERS system. On top of that, and this is from a military personnel, they carry on the Thrift Savings Plan, also known as the TSP. And the Thrift Savings Plan is the government's version of a 401k. You put money into it, and then they match you, and I believe they match up to 6%. Don't quote me on that number, but I think so. You can click on the Thrift Savings Plan link and it'll tell you. That's pretty great because it's a government managed retirement account, and so you can choose from different funds that you put it into, and it's already managed, and you don't have to worry about management fees or anything else. You put money in, the government puts money in, and then you have that on top of your retirement pension. So there's a lot of ancillary, not just pure compensation pieces that go into working for the government. And then we'll go into the big elephant in the room, because IT and cybersecurity can pay very, very well out in the civilian side, especially if you got a lot of training and the higher end certifications and stuff. And so DHS has understood this, and instead of the GS system, so that's general schedule, GS is a tiered laddered set. You have the numbers 1 through 15. And then each one of those numbers has a step set inside of it, 1 through 10. And so in a matrix, you would have it like GS 14 step 5, and that is a certain amount of compensation. These are more pay bands, and so your compensation can be adjusted as you go. Generally, get an annual review, and also a yearly COLA increase depending on what's going on. But the pay bands are nice because you don't get stuck in a regimented, time-oriented set like the general schedule is. That was one of the things I hate about general schedule is like it's very focused on if your time in and your it's very time focused. And if you're a very competent and capable person, I won't say rock star, but if you're kind of a rock star and you can make things happen and you're outpacing everything and you can run really hard and fast and be very productive, the general schedule set isn't very appealing to you, right? Like I could go make a lot more money in the civilian side. Um, and so in this set, they recognize that they can increase your pay off of your performance a whole lot easier than they can as a general schedule GS person. So it's not as lockstepped in. I very much like that. If you can prove that you're competent and capable, you tend to get raises that are commensurate with that. They also take into account, your certifications, your education level, and then they have a very good thing with Department of Labor of like when you have those things, this is generally your position title and the compensation that goes with it. And so they're very good at matching that. When they did my review, they were like, yep, this is roughly what your compensation would be in a different, if you're out in the real world. And I couldn't disagree with them. So I was like, hey, I'll take that for what I'm doing. Because once again, it's not necessarily all about the money for me. It's work-life balance is very, very good, but the money definitely helps. So compensation wise, you've got entry track. I will tell you, I have not seen a lot of entry level positions, but I have seen them, but I haven't seen a lot of them. And these are people who are just new to cyber. They don't really have any experience. They just graduated a high school program or a college program or something. And so they have heard cybersecurity and they may understand some IT stuff, but they don't have any experience. That generally they stay in that entry level for 1 to 2 years, maybe 3. The other thing I love about the CTMS program is that it is a framework, and so the steps to move from entry track to developmental track are actually pretty well defined and followable. So you could go in and knock out all the different things from the entry track and promote to the developmental track on your first review. That's pretty amazing because like I said, the old systems are a lot more time locked in. And then from developmental track to technical track. So developmental are the people that have, 2 to 4 years, 2 to 5 years of experience. So they're pretty knowledgeable, but they're not super experienced. And their compensation is commensurate, right? 80 to 105,000 a year. Depending, you have a bunch of training that comes into play too. That's the other great part for the government. My training budget is like $10,000 a year. So, depending on what I can do. Now, caveat to that training budget is if you use 10,000 a year, they're going to want you to sign on for confirming that you'll work for CISA for another 6 to 18 months, so on and so forth. So it's a larger training budget that I'm afforded, which means you can do some of the more top end certs and get those done. The technical track are usually people who are 5+ years, so over 5 years. And these are your more like hands-on keyboard, into the nuts and bolts, technical, I make stuff run and happen. I'm the person that's writing JSON files or Terraform sets. I'm the person that understands how to get into, the Amazon Web Services console and spin up EC2 instances and EKS clusters, or very technical in those pieces. And remember, I'm talking from a cyber engineering manager's position, but we have multiple different roles. Like they've got AI, ML, so artificial intelligence and machine learning. They've got data analytics and data science. And so, the technicalities and the technical track really focus in on making those items and tools operate. The next thing that you'll see is the leadership track. And these are the guys that, in the leadership track, it's kind of cool because you have to prove your technical first. So you have to prove and take the technical tests for all the stuff, and then you turn around and take a leadership test on that technical area. And these are the people who know and understand the technology, but they're the ones that manage it. They're the ones that are kind of coming in and ensuring all the personnel are doing what they need to do, that we've got all the stuff happening, and that programs are on track and moving to where they need to be. So on and so forth. And so they do a lot more of the management level stuff versus the technical level stuff. I am on the leadership track, and I'll tell you, just because I do manage stuff does not mean I don't also jump on and have to do technical stuff. So it's actually, from my viewpoint, some of my other positions, I was very much the manager and didn't do technical stuff, and I enjoyed technical stuff. So this was pretty good for me to come in and be able to do leadership in the technical track. And then executive track is the very high up. These are, CEOs, CTOs, department heads, etc., etc. And so you can see on the right hand side all the salary ranges, and once again, it's a range. You can fall anywhere in the range, and that generally is calculated off of your experience, how well you did on your tests, your certifications, your education level, and then the position they're going to put you in. And so it's pretty wide open, and it's up to you to prove where you should fall in there. So that's what I like that a lot. All right, so that's cover the benefits. They have an events tab. I'm just going to cover this quickly because one of the things I want to highlight is they have events for you to converse with people in DHS in the Cyber Talent Management Program to show that how it is and answer any of the questions. Like, right, I'm making a quick, maybe 45-minute long video. These people will be there from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. If you want to go to Deanna Initiative 2024 conference, we're going to have a DHS CTMS booth set up, and it'll be in these black and green and white colors and everything else. We're going to have an in-person booth at Black Hat USA. So if you get to make it out to Black Hat, I won't make it because Black Hat's happening over my anniversary. Doesn't fly with Mama San. She definitely wants her anniversary time for our wedding. So, sorry, Black Hat, like you guys, but Mama San takes priority. And then they have virtual systems too, right? Like you can sit there 11 a.m. to 4 p.m., can just click on and see more details, and it'll take you to how to get in there and the event to attend and so on and so forth. And so these are great little things to sit in and get your questions answered and interact with people on how they work and what they do. And it's a great way to just get familiar with the system and the people that are there and the framework surrounding it. So I really like the events. I've only made a couple of the virtual ones, but they're pretty great if you got a chance to go in and just chat with somebody. That's the other thing I've loved about DHS and CISA is that I've yet to really meet anybody that doesn't love what they're doing and want to share it with other people and chit chat and talk about it. And so I highly encourage going to the events if you can. I'm going to skip over the apply real quick and go to resources, because once we hit apply, I'm going to actually show you applying to a position. And so the resources, these are where you can get into in-depth. I highly recommend this stuff. So the capability, like you can click on these links and it's going to bring you up to a whole PDF of like the different capabilities and things that they can do, and how the framework is set up. Like you can read this whole thing and it explains the technical capabilities that DHS looks for in the positions and the levels that they want. So I mean, it tells you when you want to do cybersecurity architecture, let's do data science. Let's switch to data science. It's going to tell you what the technical capability is. Examines data with the goal of providing new insight for the purposes of cybersecurity. Technical competencies, data collection and ingestion. So taking data in, ingesting it, doing the curation of the data, and producing a data set that can be then searched and analyzed to give answers out there. And so if you've got the time, there's great ways to learn a lot about the CTMS system and the framework that we use. And then it's just got like fact sheets, right? Career levels overview. It'll talk to you about the different tracks and how they are, and a little bit more in depth than what the website was doing. Just realize that this is a PDF that was made maybe a year or two ago, so some of these salary figures are actually a little bit different. I'm going to recommend you read through like the leadership, the technical track, fact sheet, developmental entry, leadership. All of these give you very good in-depth knowledge of those tracks and what goes into them and the subcategories that go to it. Prepare to apply. I actually like this part too, the application process overview. It's got a nice overview and it tells you roughly what I'm telling you now of like how to apply, what the application process looks like, what are the steps that go into it, and how you can know where you're at in the process. So I think DHS with the CTMS program has done a very good job of being transparent and communicating the knowledge and framework they need and they're looking for. And it allows you, when you have that information, allows you to go then prepare yourself to be that, right? Like you don't have what it takes to be in the technical track for cyber engineering. Guess what? It's going to tell you what you need. So then you can just go start learning. Say, hey, I need to know about, cloud architecture and infrastructure as a code. And then you can go learn all those things and teach yourself and then become what they need and get into a position. All right. So enough about that, beating a dead horse. I would say RTFM, read everything on this website, go over it in depth yourself. Next thing now that we're going to cover is applying. So we've landed on the apply webpage, and this is where it gets kind of real because I want to highlight that it says demonstrate your expertise to find your fit at DHS. That's what I love about this program. It's not just me saying something in my resume. You're going to demonstrate that you have the ability to do these things. Quick pause on that is every time I've talked to a lot of people about this, they're like, oh, and they get all nervous because it's testing, it's an interview, it's a few things. And they don't know the unknown, and it is a little bit scary. I always encourage everyone, just apply. If you think the job looks interesting and you think you have anywhere close to some of what they need, apply and you let them tell you no. If nothing else, you're going to apply and you're going to take the test, and the test is going to let you figure out some of your knowledge base and where you're at on your knowledge. So worst case scenario, you take the test and you fail it. Best case scenario, you get a job in a place that you actually might like to be. So don't let this stop you unless you don't have all the qualifications. That's the thing that I do tell. I've had several people that apply to and like, I don't know why I didn't get picked. I'm like, well, did you have 5 years of experience and blah, blah, blah? And they're like, no, I didn't. I'm like, well, that's why they didn't pick you. So make sure that you have the experience level that they need, that they're asking for. The duty descriptions and stuff you can get away with not having that, but the experience they want you to have that. So if you're an entry-level guy, do not apply for senior executive positions or leadership positions or technical expert positions, because you'll clog up the system and then you don't actually match what they need, and it just makes it that much worse. So on the application and the apply, we'll go down to read some of these things. You can expand all of this stuff out. I'm not going to go over it. It's the same kind of resource that I was showing you before, but you can go over and just see all the different things that they're going to do, and it talks about the tracks and everything else. And then you're going to get to the big spot, apply to a job opportunity. This is where they post all the positions that are open right now. And so this page gets updated constantly because when the positions are open, it's advertised here. And then when they close it, it goes away. So you'll come back and some days you'll see, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. There's 13 open positions right now. Caveat to this piece too, each of these postings can actually cover down on multiple positions. So while it's 13 postings, it may actually be more positions that can be hired off of each one of these postings for each one of these categories. And so you have all the different categories, and I'll show you that, like we covered the levels: entry level, developmental, technical, leadership, and executive. They even put it out here. So secure network operations and developmental. So this is a DC2 position doing secure network operations. This is ensuring that our operations are happening in a secure manner for our networks. Digital forensics technical, right? So this is a more senior. You got to be pretty technical. You've got to have 5 years of doing digital forensics to apply to this position. Digital forensics developmental. Developmental goes into technical, right? And so you might have 2 years of doing stuff that is around digital forensics. You could probably apply to developmental. I'll go ahead and click on, I'll click on one. I'm just going to apply to one. Risk management compliance, technical, data science, leadership, research developmental. Let's see. I don't want to do the regional director, Region 6. Like that's an executive level. That's the top end guys. Hope you've been around DHS a long time and understand more than just cybersecurity, because you know that's the great part about CISA is the critical infrastructure covers not just cyber but chemical surety, a couple of different things, because it's really focused on the critical infrastructure. So um, let's go with digital forensics technical. All right, so I'm going to click on apply now, and it's going to take me to the job posting. I'm already signed in under the John Doe persona that I set up before. We're just going to cover this application real quick for a minute, because you know, there's a few things I just want to point out with this. Something to notice is this is a DC2 position, which generally is developmental. Sometimes the pay scale and grade might be a little messed up. You notice the salary is 104 to 207, which matches the technical grade. The other thing to look out for is that when you go apply to these positions, it has locations: Chandler, Arizona, Washington, D.C., Pensacola, Florida, Idaho Falls, Idaho, Stennis, Arlington, and Springfield. It does say remote job, no, but actually I don't know why they put no. They should put like maybe or something, or negotiable, because they can be negotiated for remote. Not all of them, but definitely some of them can be negotiated to be a remote position, especially when you're in like the leadership positions or the upper level technicals that you don't necessarily have to be on site for, or the government does a lot of stuff in the cloud. So if it's a cloud-based system, you don't have to go into work because you can do it off of a government furnished equipment laptop there at your house. I will say that this digital forensics one, I think they generally don't do the digital forensics as remote, because those things will be inside of a SCIF, which means you need to be around one of these locations for you to be able to go into the secure facility. So while I said remote, that the digital forensics ones, if you have to be on site to do the digital forensics and pull off stuff from a hard drive and whatnot, then they don't generally let you be remote. But a lot of the other positions in the CTMS program easily negotiated as a remote position. So for this one, you need to be around one of these places so you can get in a DHS SCIF. There are other SCIFs besides these places. I don't know all of them. So if you live close to, if you can figure out if you live close to DHS SCIF, you might be able to ask for that place. We'll cover this a little bit more when I click on apply. I just want to highlight that they're covering down multiple positions, right? This can fill for DHS policy and plans, for CISA, for the OCIO, for FEMA. And go in and look at all the duty descriptions and the things they're going to be doing. These are pretty good. They follow closely what you would be doing in this position. So read these, know if you've done this or if you can do this, and how to go about doing this. And then just make sure, oh, a couple of things. Supervisory status. Supervisory status says no. That means you don't have another person that reports to you and you don't have to manage them. So that's really good. It does require TS/SCI clearance. So when it says sensitive compartmented information, that is an SCI, which goes along with TS. And it does require a drug test, which, you know, a lot of the guys in Colorado don't necessarily like. Because marijuana is legal out here. Actually, I think mushrooms are legal as well, but it is not legal federally, and so you cannot do that if you're going to work a federal government job, just so you're tracking. This is the other thing I want to foot stomp. I've said it in my other videos. Requirements. You have to prove that you have done this stuff. So you have to prove that you have between 5 and 15 years of cybersecurity work experience, and the range of experience, well, we won't cover that part because it's just a subset of this. And then you have to prove that you've collected, processed, analyzed, interpreted, preserved, and presented digital evidence to support a network vulnerability mitigation, intelligence operations, different types of investigations. They don't say it on this one, but a lot of the times they will say certification level they're wanting. I think the cyber engineering manager one says certifications they're looking for. So CCP, the CISP, the CISM. I generally would tell you for like a differ one like this, they want to see that you've got your CHFI or any of the other digital forensic certifications. But you got to make sure you prove that you have those qualifications. Foot stomp, prove that you have the qualifications in your resume or you will get thrown out. And then this job is open to everybody, the public. And a lot of times, CTMS is targeting public people like the civilians, U.S. citizens that have the training they already need done. So we'll go over the application process real quick. And I've already signed in, so we don't have to worry about that whole rigmarole. Oh, and since it's differ, I'm going to use my differ resume, even though I don't even know if I have anything in that differ resume besides base level stuff. I'm going to grab whatever documents I've uploaded. I've got my Network Plus and my CISP and my master's transcript and another foot stomp. If you have a degree, upload the transcript and not the diploma. People can fake a diploma. It's a lot harder to fake a transcript. Upload the transcript so they can see multiple things they're looking for. Save and continue. Review my package. I acknowledge I've reviewed the stuff. This is the general things that you would do to apply to a position with USA Jobs. And I went on the government agency's website. And I'm going to certify to the best of my knowledge. So this is the thing I would tell you is you're certifying to the best of your knowledge and belief all the information submitted by yourself. That is what you believe to be true. So I know people who get scared like, I don't know about this or that or this, that. Like, did you do X, Y, and Z? Do you believe that you have done this and that you know it? That is what they're asking. Do you believe you have the information? You could believe wrongly and not get in trouble. This is really coming down to is, are you knowingly lying to the government, which carries a whole big set of problems in itself. Like, the government doesn't want somebody that's going to lie to them to get a position. They'd rather you tell them all the right, true stuff and be less than what they want and them train you up than for you to lie to them and say that you have everything and then you can't do anything. And so, you got to balance that out pretty well. But it is also, you're certifying that you believe you have this stuff. And so if you believe that you do, then you're not lying to the government. They can come back and say, you don't have this stuff. And you're like, well, I thought it was this when I read the words. So enough about that. Continue agency website. It's going to transport all your stuff over. It's going to upload. Bam. You're going to verify your information. And this is where you're going to verify some of your eligibilities. I am a 30% or more disabled veteran, so I get a 10-point preference. That comes into play sometimes when they're looking for hiring. So you can go from there. And then reasonable accommodations. No, I don't need any. This is if you're like hearing impaired or visually impaired, or you need something to help you out to finish the online assessments or tests that you're going to take at Pearson VUE. So you're going to continue on. And now read through a lot of this stuff. If digital forensics are primary technical capability reflecting the majority of cybersecurity technical expertise and experience, please continue on. So old GS positions used to have to answer these like series of questions of, how would you say your level of proficiency is on writing policy? And be like, I've got some experience with it, or I've done it once or twice, or I'm an expert in the field and everybody comes asking me about it. Everybody kept saying, I'm an expert in the field and everybody asked me about it, and it got to the point where if you didn't say that, you wouldn't even get looked at. And so it took away, it goes back to like the Incredibles. When you make everybody special, nobody's special, and it didn't match what they needed to do. So DHS came up in the CTMS program a different way to ask that, to find out if you actually do have the level of experience that you need and that they want. And it goes off of, you identify, hey, I have 5+ years cybersecurity work experience serving technical individual contributor roles, or 8 or 12 or 15. You choose which one, and then guess what? You got to prove it. You got to prove it down here. I'll go 5 plus, because my set, I've got a already pre-made thing that's already got where in my resume this information is. And so, um, you now have to go in here in this area, and you got to say how the red asterisk, you have to put it in there. So you're going to say how many years you got, and then they're going to go in your resume where you tell them to, and they're going to look at how many years you worked in that position, how many hours it was, what the pay level was, and then what the duties were that you did in there to show that, yep, I have the experience that I want. And so the one thing to keep in mind is like you got to claim, I claim that I have however many years and however many months. And then you got to list it in job one, job two, organization two, etc. And so, oh, and I actually put the years on there for like how long I did it. So I've already got this set up for, um, yeah. So I've got the technical and I've got the leadership already set up in a Word document that's off screen that I'm just gonna paste in here. And so there you go, like 6 years, 2023 to present, security officer for criminal investigation. Actually, I got to update this because I am not on the IRS criminal investigation. I am now DHS CISA. So glad I made this video. I can go change that around. And if you were in the leadership track, so this is the technical track. If you're in the leadership track, you would also have to do the same thing for leadership. So it's pretty in depth and pretty thorough, and them looking to make sure that you have the experience they're looking for. Next thing to cover down is while degrees are not required for the job, they're interested in your level of education. This goes into play for when they start talking to you about compensation package. They're going to look at what you have, like training, education, certification wise, and years of experience, and match that out to jobs in the real world. And I say real world, but in the civilian populace or world. And they've got, Department of Labor tracks a lot of statistics and everything else, and they're going to go match that against what other people have with your years of experience with your job thing. And that's kind of how they're going to offer you your compensation for money and whatnot. And so, you don't have to have a degree. You can just have a high school diploma. You can still get hired. It's not a must-have at all. What it does do is help you out. I have a little saying. I tell a lot of the cyber guys around here in Colorado Springs, certs will get you hired. A certification proves that you can do what you say you can do, but a degree is going to get you paid. So you've done the hard work to train yourself. However way you did it, you've worked hard to learn information, and that goes a long way for the government. Goes a long way in general, but the government puts some weight on that. So I have a master's degree, and then we will go into, if you have higher than high school experience, then they want to know what degree filled yours was in. Mine's in computer science, but if you notice, it's not just computer science. They got computer engineering, cybersecurity, electrical engineering, applied mathematics, statistics, data science, robotics, artificial intelligence, or other. You can have an MBA. That still counts as a master's. And so it gives them an understanding of what areas that you could really focus in on and help improve DHS and CISA. The next part is all the cybersecurity related certifications that you have, right? And they've got a lot listed out, right? There's a lot of them here. I have my CEH, I have my CISP, I have my CompTIA A+, I have my Network Plus, I have my Security Plus. But you notice they have a lot of different ones in here, CHFI, CYSA. And so one of the things I would say is they're actually kind of vendor agnostic. They just want to know what your certifications are, but they're not on any one certain one. They've got SAN certifications, so GIX, GCIH. I like SAN. SAN's great training. But you can have plenty of other ones. You have ISAP, ISEP. They even have the offensive security stuff now, right? Like it used to, people were like, oh, what's the OSCP? Now DHS CISA and DHS recognizes that offensive security has some great certifications. You also have other, and this is where, like, if you did the Cyber Mentor TCM's, PMPT or IME's EJPT or something like that, you would click other and you would just put that down here. Plenty of people I work with know those certifications. They're just not put into this part yet. Doesn't hurt. You can have a certification from Google, put it in there. good to go. Every certification that you do helps out in the long run. It lets them know your level of effort and competency and at least a somewhat a bit of knowledge at some point in time to prove that you had that because you passed the test. The next thing that they're going to cover is what programming languages you know. Hey, cybersecurity relies heavily on IT and programming. So if you're not familiar with some, look, you can see what ones they're looking for. I know C, I know PHP, I know Java, I know some JavaScript. I don't like Perl. SQL, and then other, because here's here's dating myself. I am old enough that my associate's degree required me to learn assembly. So I know assembly, and I would tell you, this is caveat, just personal thing myself. Learn assembly, like it's what everything compiles to anyway. So if you understand assembly, you understand how memory is being used and how the computer is pushing stuff around at not the machine level, but just above the machine level. So assembly language is great, especially if you're going to do differ, right? So if you're doing digital forensics, guess what? If you're getting into stuff and you're reverse engineering a program to look at it, you're using IDA Pro, and guess what? Well, IDA in general, but IDA Pro if you can afford it, or any of the other ones, and it's dumping the programs down back into assembly, and you understand how memory is used and how they do the stacks and how they work it around. So I encourage people to go learn assembly if you got the chance. The next section, if there's a salary range or the lowest salary you're willing to accept, by all means put it in here. If you won't take a job for anything less than 150K a year, well, by golly, put in 150,000 a year. What this will do is limit them from offering you any positions that would not pay 150K. So you have to juggle. From my viewpoint, I was willing to come over to the government because the work-life balance and the pay was the right mix, that I had everything good for my family. So I was actually willing to take a little bit of a pay cut to come into a job that I really liked, that did things that I was happy to do and still gave me the time off for my family. Is it the most biggest paycheck I've ever made as an IT cybersecurity guy? No, not at all. But it does well enough for me. So if you can't take anything less than a certain number, put it in there. Otherwise, I would leave it blank, and then you just negotiate off of there with if you get an offer. The next thing to cover down is that when you apply to these positions, it also goes into a whole repository. So my position I didn't get because I applied to the cyber engineering position itself. I got it because my resume was sitting in a pool and they looked at me for multiple positions in the same organization. And then we all came to a conclusion that I liked being a cyber engineering manager the most, and that's what I would like to do. So I said, yes, you can consider me for any of these organizations under DHS, all DHS organizations, everything. I want a full-time job. If you want a part-time or short-term, by all means, click on that. And then this is where you're gonna kind of say your work arrangements that you want, right? You don't have to select this, but I promise you, I want remote work, and I'm okay with work schedules other than the 9 to 5 Monday through Friday. I don't mind working weekends, and if I have to, and they can put me out here, I don't mind doing telework. But remote work is the one that everybody's looking for anyway. I kind of hit on it before because this is a digital forensics position. They're going to want you to live around one of these places. All the other jobs, you can make them remote if they're willing to do it. You still just choose one. You have to choose one of the places. I always choose Idaho Falls. I have not moved yet, and I'm not in Idaho Falls. You just put which one you would be comfortable to go with. If you live close to one of these, that's even better because then you can just easily accept a telework agreement or something. Choose one. There's nothing saying you have to go to that one or anything else. They just want to know which one you'd be comfortable with if they were going to make you an offer, and if you had to go to that position. You can choose to say, if you don't want to do any traveling for the job, don't click on any of these. But if you're comfortable traveling for the organization, you can click how many nights that you're willing to be gone each month. And so these are work nights, pay period, 1 to 5 nights or 6 to 10 nights, so 1 to 2 weeks. And 11 or more is like, man, I'll be gone the whole month. I am a current DHS civilian employee, and I am a former federal employee. I was not a political employee, so these political employees are appointees, like the presidential appointees, so on and so forth, the directorships, etc. I was never one of those, so that's great. May we share your application with everybody else? I'm always yes. I was looking to get into DHS and other positions of the federal government, so I said yes to both of them. Please share my application across the board with whoever would like to look at me and possibly give me an offer to work for them. So there is the answer to all those questions. Then we make it to this part I kind of covered before on my last resume video, I think. Gonna add my different resume. The cover letters, IT field I have found doesn't require them. I've never made a cover letter for the IT field. I have for project management positions, but I don't even waste my time on it anymore. If you feel like you need to, by all means do it and put it in there. But I don't really encourage cover letters too much, and just in general, people don't have time to read through a bunch of extra stuff. They need to see what they need to see and go from there. DD-214, I didn't upload my DD-214, so if you got a 214 because you're in the military, by all means put it in. You don't need your, so here's the other thing is, like, if you notice at the top it says resume required. That is the only thing that you have to have uploaded in here. All the rest of this stuff is extra ancillary. Disability letter, DD-214, those all help. So if you have them, put them in. They don't take away. These professional certifications, so this is where I'm going to put my CISP and my CompTIA network and my, well, just CISP and CompTIA, right? If you do not see professional certification, guess what you can use? Other. You can put them into the other set if they don't have it. I generally put my professional certifications into it just so it shows everybody. Proof of enrollment, it's if you're currently in college, you don't need it. SF-15 is set for veterans, searching for veteran preference. SF-50 is paperwork you get that says you were working this position or you had a personal action. You get an SF-50 if you're already a government employee. You get one when you get hired on, that like the first day of work, you get an SF-50. And then transcript. This is where you put your college transcript that you have. And then continue. And just in case, if you're missing anything, you got to upload it. I am not going to finish applying to this position because I don't want to put my name into that set. And I don't actually have really good stuff on this, so I won't waste anybody's time. But the thing to note on the end of this is that, and I'm going to go back to here, when you apply to these jobs, you're going to do the application and click submit. It's going to send you an email saying, hey, we got your application. And it's going to turn around. If you haven't applied for any of these before, it's going to send you another email saying, hey, look, we are going to send you a link, or I think the link's in the email. They send you an email with a link to take a self-assessment. And I think the leadership track gets like a personality assessment as well as a technical assessment, but they send you one that's just pretty easy. I would say it's on lines with less than A+, CompTIA A+ knowledge. So do you know what RAM is? Do you know what a CPU is? Do you understand how computers operate? Or are they magic items that, you know, have thunder running them? Like they want to know if you have the bare minimum threshold of knowledge. So you'll take that test. If you pass that test, they're going to send you another email that's going to then have you set up to go to a proctored exam at like Pearson VUE or one of the other places that is a no cred testing area. I have taken literally, I think, every test for DHS CTMS because I have applied to every position that popped up for 2 years straight. And so I went and I wanted to come over to this, CISA and DHS itself. I was really looking forward to coming to do the mission set. So I applied 2 years straight, and you have to take the test for every single area. So they have a test for cybersecurity research and development at the developmental level. They have one for research and development at the technical level. They have one for research and development at the leadership level. And with the leadership level stuff, you have to pass the technical level first and then the leadership level. So all of these things have a assessment that you have to go do. The test is 3 hours. You have 3 hours to take it. I think the longest I took was maybe an hour and 25 minutes for any one of the tests. Um, they have a pass fail, but there's a wide range of pass, is what I would tell you. So just because you think you did not do well at the end, you still may have passed the test. I can't say much about the test because you sign a little agreement that says I won't really talk about the test or anything else. All I can tell you is that I really love the assessment. I love the test. I think DHS got this right. The CTMS program got it right on the kind of test they're doing. They're more of an adaptive test that is situationally based. It is not multiple choice, so you can get right out on that one. There isn't a way to like cross out the two questions that don't match. It is scenario-based testing with multiple inputs, and you have several different outputs that you need to do for different things. Very cryptic. I know I can't talk about the test. It's like the first rule of Fight Club. Can't talk about Fight Club. Yeah, can't really talk about the test besides that they're situationally based and not multiple choice. Um, it's pretty good technical too, right? Like, I mean, I took, I won't say which, like you had to understand and be able to read an email header and the intricacies to that to understand the different information that was in there to be able to come up with the answer that you needed. So, I mean, it's pretty good on assessing your technical capabilities. And the leadership ones actually focus on, um, doing managerial actions in the proper manner to government regulation. Uh, any hint that I can give you is the government works off in NIST 800 series. So go learn the 800 series. And I know a lot of the cyber guys, they're like, oh, 853. There's a lot more than 853. NIST 800 series period goes through the whole risk management framework and all the different areas that could go to it. They've got a NIST for IoT devices. They got NIST for um, the framework itself, etc. So if you want to understand and learn, go read the NIST NIST 800 series documentation. It's free. You can read it yourself. All it takes is your time. So um, that's all I'll say for understanding and knowing the testing set is you know regulation, you know compliance set, you know the NIST, then you will have a decent foundation for a good assessment. Oh, I will say program management wise, if you know program management through like PMP or any of the other stuff, that'll help out too. If there's an industry standard for what you're wanting to test for, that's what the tests go off of for the knowledge. So become knowledgeable in those things. I think I have my CISP, and I would say having my CISP helped me understand um, ways to answer the questions as well. But the tests are great. That's what I like to say is that the assessments that they do for the CTMS positions are pretty good, and they will let you know where you stand knowledge-wise. Here's a great part. If you fail, you now have an understanding of what you need to go study and learn on. The negative part to failing is you get one shot a year at these things. So if you fail a test, you can't retake it for another year. So if you fail on December 12th, 2023, you will not be able to take that same test for that same area again until December 20 or 13th of 2024, if that makes any sense. Um, so know that when you go in, if you fail a test, you can't take it again for a year. And the great part is though your assessment just stands for a year. So pass or fail, that test no longer. So if I went and applied for, I'm a cybersecurity engineering manager, and I've got my test on record for that. If I went and applied for another cyber engineering manager position 2 weeks later, my test still stands, so I don't have to retake the test. It just goes for that position as well. So now my resume and test all go to that. After you take that technical assessment, proctored assessment, and you pass that, you will then get emailed probably a week and a half, 2 weeks later. Could be sooner, but generally I've found this like a week and a half. You'll get emailed a link to do what they call an advanced technical interview. And if you want to search and research that, the government uses HireView. That's HIREVIEU, VIEW. Don't quote me on spelling. But HireView, if I think if you can just search HireView, you will see the software they use. And once again, it is a technical questionnaire, and they have I think 4 sections in each one of them. You get uh, a you get a situational question, and you get 4 questions after that on the same situation. You get 5 minutes to answer each question, and it's very open-ended. So I really love these as well. It sucks because you're talking to the camera. I enjoy a face-to-face interview with people because I just enjoy being able to read the room, and I like the personality and talking with people. But these are a little bit more impersonal. You're just talking to your screen and answering the question and videoing yourself. You do get, I think, 3 attempts per question. So like if you sneeze or something in the middle of the thing, click stop, redo it again, and go from there. Once again, they're situational questions, and it gives you 5 minutes to answer in your own personal way of how you would do whatever it is a question is asking you. Um, I enjoyed these as well because it gives you a chance to really assess how you would do certain things. It lets you know if you understand the different frameworks that you would be using. And then it gives them another set of interviews, or it also goes in your record, and they're good for a year. So if you do a technical interview for, data science leadership, you won't have to do another ATI for the second data science leadership that you apply for if you apply for it within a year. Um, After the ATI interview, you're basically going to sit in the pool of applications for that position. But then if you said yes to all the other ones, you're just going to sit in a pool of applications. The hiring managers will then get to go in and look at that pool and look at your resume. So they'll look at your resume. They will look at your test score for passing that technical assessment. They get to watch your, actually, they don't get to watch your ATI interview. The ATI interview is sent out to the experts in the fields that are CTMS already guys. So, like, I assess some of the ATI interviews. So you get like 4 or 5 people assess those. They give a score. The scores are averaged across the board, so no one person can really mess up your ATI interview, and that keeps it impersonal, right? Like, and if I get somebody that I know, I can't grade their CTM or their ATI interview. So it gives like an average score for your ATI interview, and then the hiring manager gets to see that average score. They get to see your kind of test score, your resume, and they'll say, "Hey, we want to have an in-person interview." These in-person interviews, a lot of people get nervous for them. This is what I tell generally how it goes. It's not a technical interview anymore. You've already passed the technical stuff, right? Like you've already proven you have the technical expertise. So a lot of these interviews are more of the hiring manager getting a feel for you as a person and how well you fit on their team. And this is where I would tell you soft skills matter. Knowing how to interact with people and have people skills and communicate is a top end set that is needed in IT world and cybersecurity. I harp on this on any people that I mentor. Soft skills, soft skills, soft skills. A lot of the IT people want IT because it's easy to interface with a computer. I have exact commands I have to put in there, and I don't have to read emotions or try to figure out what people are trying to say or anything else. It's a lot less emotionally intensive on IT people to just interact with a computer. However, especially as you get into the higher level positions, you have to be able to properly communicate with people around you to get the ideas across and the mission understood by all people who are going to be working on it and everything else. And so the interview is the place where they're looking at how well you integrate, how well. I will say they're not caring so much about your technical acumen, except for how well you understand what their program is actually doing. So they may ask you some questions that would be technical in their programmatic sense of like, oh, well, have you ever done modeling capabilities? And do you understand how data analytics works? But mostly they're not looking to see the technical part. They're looking to see how well you can communicate and what your personality and disposition is and how well it'll integrate into their team. And that doesn't mean you have to be a nice person all the time or anything else. There's plenty of teams I've been on where everybody's kind of like a very dry person, and you don't actually want the easygoing guys in there. You want to have dry, cut and dry people. So that's the general rule for your actual interview. And then if you do well on interview, you'll get an offer letter. They'll give you what they call a TJO, temporary job offer. And if you get that, then you're on your way to a position. But don't go quit your day job and the other position that you have. It can take a couple of weeks to get from your TJO to full JO. FJO is full job offer. And once you get the temporary job offer, they're going to send you for a urinalysis test to see if you're doing drugs. You have to prove that you're a citizen. You have to upload all your they have a whole list of documents and everything else that you have to get to them, upload, do, etc., etc. And so all of those things have to be in place. And once they get all that stuff off your temporary job offer, then they can give you your full job offer. And the full job offer, when it comes, you can get your full job offer on Monday, but it's generally a 2 weeks out start date from that full job offer. It'll say, okay, you've now got a full job offer, and you'll start on the first day of the next pay period, which is always every 2 weeks. And so that's generally the process of how it goes to use CTMS and get a job in DHS, subset of CISA, but Department of Homeland Security uses CTMS. It is a DHS program. Thank you for watching this very long video. It's an hour and 5 minutes. If you hung with me, I really appreciate your attention, and hopefully this has given you some knowledge on this program. I really liked it. I thought it was pretty awesome, and I highly recommend it for people who want to come in and work for the government, especially if you don't mind staying off of the DoD side, Department of Defense side, and working for the Homeland Security Division and really focusing on how we support our citizens in their everyday lives.